Can wellness be measured objectively?
Oh gosh, yes and no. So wellness as an increased ability to function can be measured on the basis of what you're measuring, right? So in other words, if I have an increased versus a decreased ability of my laptop to function, I can measure that ability to the extent that I'm picking out what to measure. So for instance, if I have a throughput for the data bus for the SSD, okay, for some reason I'm having some sort of static or whatever, it's causing some sort of problems, it's interfering with that. I can actually measure that. I can see, oh, this is what the target is for what the bandwidth should be, and this is what it actually is. So I can measure that objectively, and that would be, I'd be measuring the illness or wellness, relatively speaking, of these two options. Or let's say there's an upgrade. Okay, I upgrade, my CPU, and so now I can measure specifically the ability of the CPU to run operations. Okay, clear, right? I have the measurement, and because I have the measurement, that measurement is of an ability. Because that measurement is of an ability, I can use that. The challenge becomes when you're talking about something like human wellness. Then it's a little trickier to say, well, what are you choosing to measure? I mean, if I'm going to measure my happiness, how do I measure my happiness? Well,
Right.
we can measure happiness to a certain degree, but not very objectively. We can measure it more subjectively.
Mhm.
So I can say, do I feel happier than earlier this morning? And the answer is currently, yeah, I would say so. But if I was to go and try to figure out, well, how much? What's the percentage? is it 23%? Is it 37%? It's difficult for me to measure
Yeah.
beyond my subjective experience. I don't have a means of, let's say, measuring the expansiveness of my nervous system to give some more scientifically rigorous measurement. And in that sense, it can be less objective when it's difficult to have more of an objective measure. However, the fact that I can still measure it subjectively in terms of the relationship between how I feel now versus how I felt before, is it more or less? I can discern that, right? That means that even there's still some degree of verification, some degree of ability to measure. It's just not as objective, is not as fine-tuned as it would be if it was measuring CPU speeds.